Picture this. You're sitting in a vast theater. The stage is enormous, filled with hundreds of actors, each performing their own scene simultaneously. Comedy, drama, tragedy, romance, all happening at once. You have a single spotlight. You can illuminate any part of the stage, but only one small area at a time. Where you point that spotlight determines which story you experience. That spotlight is your attention. And that theater, that's your consciousness. Welcome back to Inner Vision Architecture. Today we are exploring detection of the first and perhaps most crucial stage of our framework. Detection is the foundational skill of conscious perception. It is the difference between being lost in your thoughts and realizing you are thinking. It is the moment in a dream when you suddenly realize you are dreaming. That moment of realization is detection. To put it simply, detection is the act of consciously directing your attention to select and register elements of your experience from the continuous background flow. Like adjusting the lens on a camera, detection sharpens your awareness and sets the stage for all deeper insight. Without detection, there is no data for the rest of your inner system to process. This stage is about learning to notice rather than interpret. It is about raw perception before judgment or story. Dr. Michael Posner, often called the father of attention research, has spent decades mapping how the brain focuses. Using brain imaging technology like fMRI, his team discovered something remarkable. Attention isn't one single thing. It's actually a collaboration of at least 3 separate neural networks working together. First, there's the alerting network, which acts like a radar system, maintaining a state of readiness and constantly scanning for important information. Then there's the orienting network, which is like a laser pointer, responsible for disengaging from one target and shifting focus to another, selecting specific details from the sensory flood. Finally, there's the executive control network, which acts like a conductor, managing conflicts when multiple things compete for your focus and regulating your thoughts and feelings. But here's what's fascinating and deeply empowering. These networks can be trained. Just like going to the gym strengthens your muscles, specific mental practices can literally change the structure and function of your brain's attention networks. And when your attention changes, everything changes. Let me share what happened to Marcus, a software engineer who came to our attention training program. He described his mind as a browser with 47 tabs open. He couldn't focus on coding for more than a few minutes. He kept getting distracted in conversations with his partner, and he felt a constant, low-grade sense of being overwhelmed. Marcus wasn't broken. He was, in many ways, perfectly adapted to our modern culture of infinite scroll, constant notifications, and relentless multitasking. Most people today have attention systems that are overstimulated and profoundly undertrained. But after just 8 weeks of the practices we will discuss today, Marcus's brain scans showed measurable changes. The anterior cingulate cortex, a key region in the executive control network, showed increased activity. His ability to sustain focus on a single task, measured by cognitive tests, increased by 40%. But more importantly, the default mode network, the part of the brain associated with mind-wandering and self-referential thought, became less reactive. He reported feeling, in his own words, like he was living his life instead of being lived by it. So what exactly did Marcus do? he trained the skill of detection. At its core, detection is the ability to consciously choose where to place your attention in the vast field of your experience. Instead of being pulled around by whatever is loudest, brightest, or most emotionally charged, you learn to direct the spotlight of your awareness with intention. Imagine you're walking in a forest. Without training, your attention might jump from the sound of a bird to a worry about a work email, to the feeling of your shoes on the trail, to a memory from childhood, and back to the bird. You're in the forest, but you're not really present to the forest. With trained attention, you can choose. You can choose to focus on the intricate texture of bark on a tree. You can choose to immerse yourself in the pattern of light filtering through the leaves. You can choose to place your attention on the simple, rhythmic sensation of your own breathing. You're not blocking anything out, you are simply choosing what to highlight in the beam of your awareness. In our work with contemplative practitioners, neuroscientists, and psychologists, we've identified two core practices that develop this capacity. The first we call micro-awareness scanning. The second is selective attention training. Let's start with micro-awareness scanning. This is like performing a systems check on the dashboard of your consciousness. It is a foundational practice of noticing. To begin, find a comfortable posture where your spine can be upright but relaxed. Close your eyes if that feels comfortable for you. The first step is to set a clear intention. Silently say to yourself, I am simply noticing what is already here. This is not about fixing, changing, or judging anything. It is an act of pure observation. Then, you systematically scan 5 different domains of your experience, spending about a minute on each. First, scan the body. Notice the raw physical sensations present right now. Pressure where you're sitting, the temperature of the air on your skin, any areas of tightness, tension, tingling, or relaxation. You are just registering the data. Next, tune into your emotion. What is the emotional tone of this moment? Not the story about why you feel a certain way, but the feeling quality itself. Is it calm, anxious, open, contracted, joyful, flat, or something else entirely? Again, no judgment, just detection. Then, observe the mind. What mental activity is present? Are thoughts moving fast or slow? Are they clear or foggy? Are you planning, remembering, analyzing, or is there just random chatter? You are observing the thoughts as events, not as truths. Fourth, turn the lens of awareness back on itself. Observe the quality of your attention. Is your attention steady or is it jumpy? Is it focused or scattered? Does it feel bright and clear or dim and foggy? Most people have never considered that attention itself has a texture and quality that can be observed. Finally, what is the overall atmosphere of this moment? This is more subtle. It's the felt sense of your entire experience. Does it feel spacious or compressed? Light or heavy? Familiar or strange? Open or closed? After scanning each domain, take a final moment to simply notice the whole field of your experience at once. This entire practice can take just 5 minutes. What you're doing is training your system to detect the different channels of your experience. Most people are amazed to discover how much they weren't aware of. The second core practice, selective attention training, is like taking your focus to the gym. Here, you choose one specific and usually subtle object of attention. Traditionally, the sensation of the breath at the nostrils or the rising and falling of the abdomen is used. You then practice returning your attention to that single point whenever your mind wanders. But here's the key insight that most meditation instructions miss. You are not trying to stop your mind from wandering. The wandering of the mind is a normal, natural function. What you are training is the moment of realization. The moment you notice that your attention has moved. In that moment of noticing, you have successfully practiced detection. The second part of the training is the gentle, non-judgmental redirection of your attention back to your chosen object. Think of it like training a puppy. The puppy wanders off. You gently call it back. It wanders off again. You gently call it back again. You are not punishing the puppy for being a puppy. You are patiently and kindly teaching it to come when called. Every time you notice your mind has wandered and you gently return it, you have completed one repetition. You are strengthening the neural circuits of executive control. Dr. Wendy Hazen-Campus research at Emory University has beautifully mapped this process. When the mind wanders, the default mode network is active. The moment you become aware, you're not on task, that's detection, the salience network lights up. Then, the executive control network engages to disengage from the distraction. And finally, the orienting network activates to bring your focus back to the breath. This four-step process, a mind wandering, awareness, shifting, and refocusing is the fundamental workout for your attention. But detection isn't just about formal meditation. Once you understand how attention works, you can begin applying it everywhere, transforming your daily life. Take conversations, for example. How often are you fully present when someone is speaking? Truly present and not planning what you're going to say next, not judging their words, not thinking about something else entirely? Sarah, the woman I mentioned in our first episode, realized through this practice that she had never actually listened to her partner. She was always listening for something, for evidence of criticism, for reassurance that he still loved her, for the problem she needed to solve. When she learned to detect that filtering process and gently return her attention to simply hearing his words, to the sound and tone of his voice, their relationship transformed. The neuroscience here is clear and profound. Where you place your attention literally shapes the neural networks in your brain. Neuropsychologist Dr. Rick Hansen calls this experience-dependent neuroplasticity. The brain you have today is the brain you have trained through the patterns of your attention. If you have spent your life unconsciously focusing on threats, problems, and what's wrong, you have literally grown a brain that is optimized for detecting threats, problems, and what's wrong. But the reverse is also true. When you consciously and repeatedly train your attention to notice beauty, to rest on gratitude, to seek out possibility, and to register what's working, you begin to develop and strengthen the neural networks that naturally detect those qualities. This isn't about positive thinking or spiritual bypassing. It is applied neuroscience. You are not denying reality. You are training yourself to see reality more completely. So how can you begin right now? Here are 3 micro-practices you can integrate into your day. First, the 3 senses check-in. At any point in your day, pause and notice 3 things you can see, 3 things you can hear, and 3 sensations you can feel in your body. This takes less than a minute and acts as a powerful reboot for your awareness, pulling you out of autopilot and into the present moment. Second, Practice transition rituals. Before you start any new activity, before you open your email, before you enter a meeting, before you start a conversation with a loved one, take 3 conscious breaths. This simple act creates a moment of intentional presence, a clean slate before you engage. Third, experiment with single tasking. Choose one routine activity that you usually do on autopilot, like drinking your morning coffee, walking to your car, or washing the dishes. Practice doing only that one thing. When your attention wanders, as it will, just notice and gently bring it back. You are transforming a mundane chore into a powerful attention training session. But perhaps the most important and revolutionary aspect of detection training is the development of what researchers call meta-awareness, the ability to be aware that you are aware. It is the moment you realize you have been lost in a spiral of anxious thoughts. It is the instant you notice your mind has wandered from the conversation. It is the recognition that you are feeling irritable, or joyful, or confused. Meta-awareness is like having a witness to your own experience. Not a judge, but a calm, impartial witness. This capacity is revolutionary because it creates space. It creates the space for choice. When you are completely identified with your thoughts and emotions, you have no choice but to be carried away by them. But when you can see your thoughts and emotions as temporary events arising and passing in the vast space of your awareness, you can choose how to respond. The Buddhist teacher Mingyur Rinpoche puts it beautifully. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that observes your thoughts. Detection training is how you cultivate and stabilize that observational capacity. But here's what we inevitably discover as we develop this skill. The more clearly we can see what is happening in our mind, the more we begin to notice that our mind is not a neutral observer. It has preferences. It has habits. It has biases. It has filters that determine what it pays attention to and what it ignores. This brings us to the next critical stage of our architecture. In our next episode, we will explore filtering. We will investigate how your personal history, your beliefs, your emotions, and your very identity create a unique and often invisible lens through which you see the world. We will learn why 2 people can look at the same situation and see completely different realities. And we will discover how to begin seeing that lens clearly enough that it no longer runs you from the shadows. But for now, I will leave you with this. Your attention is your most precious and finite resource. It is the currency of your consciousness. Where your attention goes, your energy and your life follow. The question is, are you spending that currency consciously, or is it being spent for you? Start noticing. Start detecting. Start seeing your own seeing. This is the beginning of everything.